They're just arriving now.
Hi, Sean.
Hello, I'm Larissa.
Hi, Larissa. Nice to see you.
Nice
Sorry.
to see you. Is it alright to come in?
Yes, please come on.
How are you?
Having a pretty hard time. Hi, Sean. You can see my state-of-the-art brand new Mac computer. It's the new style.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we're all a bit sort of old to really appreciate it, but trust me, it's actually just like really
I know
cool.
the feeling.
Yeah, no, my battery ran out completely, so a tech came over and said, until you decide whether or not you're going to put a battery on a machine that old,
Yeah.
a new one, we're just going to turn it into a desktop, so it has to be attached to the power source at all times.
Oh.
And he said, so just tape down the side. And having ADHD and having a spreadsheet to work on, I was like, cool, I'm going to put 5 hours into taping the...
Oh, fair enough.
It was a great excuse.
Yeah.
Now the fourth chair, because I'm going to sit here, is for one of my neighbours who's here, who's just going to come in
And support you?
and support me.
Oh,
And I
fantastic.
assumed that would be fine with you guys.
Yeah, no, I have no issues with that.
Yeah. And I forgot to take my next seeds. So she rang me about 5 minutes ago to say she was just coming back from Papanui supermarket. And she said, I can either ask you guys if you don't mind
Waiting?
or we can continue. But because I have PTSD and active chronic stress, so I take quite a lot of clonazepam. But I often don't take it because my memory's not so good, so I realise I've missed a dose and I'm feeling quite, it's not that you guys are threatening, but it's just when you're PTSD and everything's kind of threatening.
I need COMT, which means I can administer.
Oh, okay.
So I know what's going on.
And it's clonazepam, and so it's quite fast acting and it's also long acting. And I think by the time Terry arrives, I'll probably just be come down
That's why I understand the whole medical side.
That's really good to know. Are you a nurse?
I'm not a nurse though, but I also work at Stepping Stone as a residential support worker for schizophrenics.
Okay.
So I administer your meds at night times and
I see, yes, and that's a very, you can't just be any Joe Blogs off the street to do
I've
that.
been signed off on it to do it, so.
Man, as you're probably gathered by now, I'm on bail and I've been arrested a few times, and a couple of those times it's been completely illegal, and they've even tried to pretend the arrest didn't happen because they were trying to get me for breach of bail under totally false pretences. And then I'd go into the cells and they wouldn't let me bring my meds, and then they'd unpick up my meds and then they would read off the bottle and tell me what I was entitled to. And I take, because you'll probably know about clonazepam, unlike lorazepam that's long acting, and I don't take it PRN, I take it, what's the 3 times, whatever it is, and it's morning, lunch, and then evening, but at the time it was morning and lunchtime, it was 2 in the morning until lunchtime, and these really belligerent cell cops, and they're cops, I have a nurse there, but they refuse to let me see the nurse, were like, they've written in my report that I was demanding more medication than I was entitled to, and it includes my Ritalin, which again is in the morning and then at lunchtime and then again in the evening. But I take the short acting in the evening because it actually helps me sleep.
Yeah.
And they were reading off the bottle going, it says here 4 times a day, and I'm like, that is the quantity I take a day, it's not a dosing schedule. And they were writing bullshit in my notes saying that I was asking for the medications and I was entitled to. So when my GP had to write a fucking instruction to the police to to the pharmacist to write twice, 2 in the morning, 2 at lunchtime, because police think that they can interpret meds, and it shouldn't be them dispensing, it should be the nurse. It's really bonkers. And so, of course, then they say that you're behaving irrationally and belligerently, and it's like, what you've done to me has triggered my PTSD, and that's what you're seeing the result of.
Yes, of course.
And also, because I've got ADHD, of course they seem irrational, because the medication is prescribed to help you organise your freaking thoughts, man. Like, they blame you for the results of their own abuse, and that's one of the reasons that I'm quite traumatised. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so wrong day, it's not Sunday, it's Tuesday. Okay. That's a big time. And it's true, if you take them with more water, they metabolize more quickly here. It's a fairly recent trick I learned. I didn't know that, and it's like, wow, that's been so helpful in so many situations. Without getting into the substantive stuff, I'm interior review at the moment, and I feel so comfortable with you guys.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get into the real substance until Terry comes, because it's partly just because my memory is really, really bad. And that's, I've had my GP referred me for a brain MRI because I've been under chronic stress for 2 years, and the stress hormones are very important, but they're not supposed to be released every 24/7 for 2 years. And when they are, and especially at my age, well, I think we're all probably in that same kind of area where you can't go fucking around to the cardiovascular health. And so, like after 30, so, my body started, everything came home to roost. And the thing is with that cortisol, like, I had a brain MRI because I've got because it's, people keep thinking it's psychiatric, but stress is a whole body syndrome. And I don't even really talk about the emotions of it, because the emotions are less important to me than the fact that firstly stress makes me freeze, I can't do anything. And then secondly, it's done things like, I didn't realise this, but I was like losing my balance, and I've been getting like really weird like vision and zaps in my head and that kind of thing. Things that you wouldn't, like, those are not mental health symptoms. And my GP, and I thought I was like cruising for a stroke with those zaps and shit, and my doctor said, no, those are very well-known symptoms of stress, that they're not a sign of a stroke, it's just severe stress. But she sent me for a brain MRI, and although like I can't afford Ministry of Health doesn't fund brain injury that's not caused by physical impact, so I've got to pay for that myself, $800 somehow. So I can't pursue that too much by myself. So it couldn't be thorough and conclusive, but it certainly showed that I've got increased grey matter, which is not seen in someone of my age. I'm 46, so it's usually people in their 70s and 90s who start to get that, and it affects memory, balance and that kind of stuff. So although the radiologist always very clear we cannot draw a causation from the referring symptoms and what the results are, the session will be consistent with what was reported.
Yeah.
And so for people to downgrade a very physical illness, a very physical syndrome with mental health, not even psychiatric, not even neurological, but with mental health problems, is completely missing the point. And it's what's making me, really struggling with my day-to-day life. And because I've got this criminal trial coming up, which is a silly trial, and the case review hearing judge, and I don't know if you know anything about the process, I'm brand new to it, I haven't been in the system before, Like with the first case with the judge, he was just like, he just recommended to close prosecution and he said, just drop them, like, this is just a waste of this time. And so it's causing me a whole lot of stress.
Undue stress, yeah.
Undue stress, because it could be, but I don't know, it could be that the judge just takes a look at it and just goes, this is fucking bullshit, don't waste my time.
That's probably what he will do.
Well, and it would be really nice to rely on that, but you know how risk happens on two, the X and Y axis, and so on one axis it's unlikely to happen that I get, convicted or whatever. But if it does happen, it's going to be really bad. And so my anxiety and my stress is not relieved by the fact that there's silly charges, because sillier things than that have happened. Like the police have been so dodgy, and I left my last emergency housing accommodation in Papanui because police just kept harassing me there. And the case review judge was like, well, we should get you a probation officer. So I don't think you can get a probation officer if you're just on bail. I think you could, I don't know, whatever. But he said, just so we can, so you don't have to have these bail checks. And I'm like, I don't get bail checks. I am being harassed by police, and it's been alternately they just use these bullshit reasons to come over. And it's anything from arresting me for something that never happened and the judge throws out in the cells, or it's doing these sham welfare checks to see if I'm okay. And it's just so like passive, kind of covert aggressive. It's like, how dare you do welfare checks and alternate those with the falsely arresting me? And then I even got beaten up, and one of them told the little kid who was next door to go away when she came out to have a look because she was quite curious. And it's like, don't fucking tell my fucking neighbour's kid to go away. It's her home. We're all very vulnerable. So I left her into the emergency housing in the big part because of that, just to escape that harassment. Yeah. And also because, and this is getting to the topic, and I guess I'll just wait for Terry to arrive. It's just moving into that topic where I cannot meet my housing obligations except passively. And that was the agreement with MSD, and I don't think Robin, who referred you, really seems to realise that passive means I receive, I don't do. Now, that's a very unusual arrangement, but it was an arrangement based on an assessment and a special dispensation made with, like a delegated authority, because you cannot put more saddlebags on a horse whose legs are all broken. And my legs are nearly broken. I'm in this mess because I've got papers everywhere that I have to sort out, and the papers are triggering me, the material is triggering me, because I'm in court as a defendant, but I was the victim. I have photos of injuries caused by the person who rang the police, who lied to the police, who beat me up before they called the police. You probably hear this stuff quite a lot. And when the police turned up, they wouldn't listen to me. They claimed in their declarations that I had no evidence, but they just wouldn't listen to me. And then I was walking out the door with them to go to the station. Like I know, I've never been arrested before. That was the 4th of July, my first arrest ever. I've never been in trouble with police. But I know enough to not argue with the police at the time. You go to the station and sort it out. So I'm walking out with them, and then one of the cops assaulted me, and then she charged me with resisting arrest. And quite often when I'm in social housing, or because I've kind of moved into a different section of society now, where I end up having a lot more compassion for people I see being kind of rough. And the stories I hear are a lot like mine, and I think that I'm actually lucky that I'm a woman, because men don't tend to get the same opportunities to get this kind of residential care, or this isn't residential care, but like I just see a lot of homeless men, and I often have a little chat to them, and they've all got like serious health problems, and most of them have experienced police brutality. A lot of the women that I've encountered have experienced police brutality, and it's the same typical thing. It's just like clockwork. It's just like happens in the States that you hear about. It's like you get charged with resisting arrest, and it's just a catch-all for them to excuse any fucking brutality. And it's like, why? I really like. Unless you can, like, I wish the courts would stop just automatically going, oh, okay, resisting arrest, that makes sense. That's why she had all those bruises and the bump in her head, Like, it's the easiest excuse in the world, to make, oh, I'll beat her up and then I'll claim that she was resisting arrest and I had to use force.
And you're not a big lady, you're quite a petite lady, so, holding you down wouldn't take much effort, what I mean, for the police to resist you, to restrain you. So
exactly, and so there'd been no need for injuries, and actually my neighbour, and they were a couple and they had loads of kids actually, and so it was really important, and they were really stressed out, especially the mum was so stressed out, and she was pregnant as well. I think Terry's just come upstairs now. The guy, they turned up with a bullshit reason to arrest me, there's fucking 3 units. And the guy next door said, well, you must be really hard to handle.
Hi.
Hey, hi.
Oh, kia ora. I'm Terry.
I'm Narissa.
Kia ora.
And Sean.
Sean.
Yeah, take a seat.
Oh, thank you. Aren't you sitting here?
No, you're sitting there.
Oh, gee, you've got us all set up. Kia ora.
Terry.
Yeah, Terry's, well, you're not really my neighbour, are you? But
No.
You're the, Terry's the mother.
Her daughter's my neighbour.
neighbours.
Oh, gee.
And,
He's only looking after her for a while.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
And I've just adopted Terry as my mother, so. I set up my state-of-the-art sort of system here, Terry, in case I needed it, but I think it's probably, I don't, I just wanted to be prepared. But so I've kind of just had a bit of a shock to breathe with these guys, just sort of explaining a bit about the background, but we haven't got into the current situation, and I think I'll let you lead that because I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Okay. So pretty much all in a nutshell,
Yeah.
Caitlin, is we have received a referral from your case manager, Robin,
Yeah.
because you're currently in emergency housing.
Yeah.
Because our role is an emergency housing navigator.
Yeah. Are you a navigator? Okay. So you have the same role.
Yeah. Once we receive the referral, we make an appointment with the client,
Yeah.
and that's where it came about with all this
Yeah, so
information.
I understand that much because I might have indicated, although I know I sent a flurry of information at you, which I don't expect you to have absorbed all of. It's ADHD. Well, it's actually not ADHD. I thought I was getting intensified ADHD. It's actually just the trauma. And so it's not ADHD. The ADHD is actually quite well managed. It's just the trauma kind of mimics it. So I'm really scattershot. My brain's just mush.
And I totally respect
Paranoid.
that.
She gets paranoid.
Well, I
What do you
wouldn't.
call it? PTSD.
Yeah, like I wouldn't even call it paranoia. I would
Yeah,
just say
stress.
I've had a fuckload of bad experiences. Like I have lost so
That's
many
it.
accommodations this year that I live in fear of losing my accommodation. And it's not based on some kind of rationality. It's because it's happened to me 13 times this year since
Yeah.
July. Yeah. So at any moment, and Robin still hasn't decided if I get to stay on after tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that?
So that will be based on our kōrero today,
Okay.
our talk today.
Yeah.
So part of our role is when we meet with the client, it's just to go through what our role is and what we do, and identify whether there's further supports that may need to be put in place. That is all.
That wasn't a put down when I was saying paranoid.
No. I know. Actually, I looked up the definition of paranoia once because I'm going paranoid, and it turns out that paranoia, it's just a semantics matter. It can be totally justified.
Yeah.
Or it can be unjustified.
Exactly,
and I am paranoid, I guess you could say that, but it's totally justified because of my fucking how my life is for I slept in the bus stop because I got chucked out from a backpackers and paid. Like, it was totally illegal for them to do that, but even though the law's on my side, I'm so vulnerable that I can't go and take everyone to court who fucking illegally kicks me out of my home, that I paid for, So you're right, I am paranoid,
But with reason.
But with reason, and right now, considering I don't know if I've got a home after 10 o'clock tomorrow, there's a very good reason for a PTSD person to be very worried.
Part of that's why I touched base. I connected with you last week to arrange a suitable time, date, so we can meet just to go through what we're doing today.
So just to hello.
Oh, it's Julie. Daughter.
All good. Just so you know,
Oh shit! Sorry, darling.
I completely understand about being refused to service, community service providers. There's nothing about that I don't understand. I'm an old hand. The issue wasn't that I didn't understand that you were housing navigators and what housing navigators would generally do. I don't know what you specifically do, and of course, if I would need to know, but it's reasonably self-explanatory. The problem was that the referral to you by Robin was not communicated to me that you were housing navigators. I was told I'd get a navigator, and that was in the context of discussions about my extra needs. And my extra needs are not relieved whatsoever by having obligations to look for a house. Now, and the thing is that I understand what emergency housing is for, but again, it's not the general information that counts, it's the specific agreement that I had with MSD that counts. And Robin has written in her own reads to me that because she initially said, no, you have the same obligations as everybody else. And I said, I'm really concerned that you're saying that because the previous housing coordinator, emergency housing case manager, who brought me back in on the basis that all my obligations were lifted because I cannot cope with anything else on top of all my other health problems. Now, Robin, I think, you called mental health yesterday and I'd had a good long talk with Chris. Unfortunately, things have gone pear-shaped. I'll get into that later, but this will be very relevant to perhaps what you guys can do for me. He says MSD people are not trained medically, but he totally 100% agreed with me. He's a registered nurse for me. He's he's been there for 25 years. He agreed with me that nonetheless, I am on supported living payments because of a medical certificate written by a psychiatrist at Hillmorton Hotel. That a hotel. What the hell am I talking about?
It is like a hotel sometimes.
It wasn't actually for me because they misdiagnosed me and I was really badly abused.
Oh.
Yeah, no, they misdiagnosed me with bipolar disorder and I was forcibly injected with antipsychotics and I was injured in the process, and it's illegal. You're not allowed to do that unless someone is shown florid. And this is what florid psychotic symptoms, and I wasn't. I was reasoning with them, going, "What are you doing? Like, I'm clearly just fine. Why the hell? I'm just sitting here in my bed."
Yeah.
You know, it was just a doctor on a power play. It's highly illegal, but try bringing the police from the loony bin and see how much.
Yeah, they're going
See
to
how much
believe you
they
over the
believe you.
doctor.
Yeah, but I was injured and they didn't report it, and you know, Matt's raised a complaint with the director or whatever of Hillmorton about my injuries, which were medically photographed by one ward team because they refused to inject me. They said, "We don't see any reason to this, we think this is despicable." So no, it's not a hospital. But sorry, what I was going to say is the thing is that I'm not asking Robin to do anything that hasn't already been put in place with Windsor's own policy systems. Now, I don't expect Robin to be a health professional, but I expect her to understand what supported living payments are and what it means. So she said, well, at the time, your health problems at the time, that's when your obligations were suspended. But you're on support. I'm not on job seekers with work deferral, which is for the sickness benefit. I'm on what used to be the invalid's benefit. And my certificate says my work capacity. Now, I'm already bogged down. I already have no work capacity.
Yeah.
And I'm really drowning in further deterioration because of the work I have to do for this legal stuff, because I've got like the legal aids just cracked down on me. And that's not a health issue specifically, but I can tell you that helping someone forward into a home when they've committed suicide because they've had too many pressures to cope with is not helping, and it's not in the spirit of MSD.
That's the reason why we are here, to take that pressure off you.
Yeah, but to just press my point home just finally, it's, as Paul agreed with me, when a person is on supported living payments, it made no sense for Robin to say your health problems at the time. My supported living payment certificate shows that this is a permanent condition.
That's understandable. That's Robin shouldn't, by right, she shouldn't have said you're on supported living because of your health problems. It doesn't matter what you're on supported living for, it's just that you're on supported living.
And the fact that I'm on supported living payment, this is not my only diagnosis, but I was put on supported living payments at that time for stress, and that was a year ago, and I can tell you that stress has not reduced whatsoever. And I've attempted suicide 5 times. Now, I don't know how to kill myself, it's not in my skill set. But they have all been very sincere, because I don't want to wake up afterwards, because when I wake up, then all hell breaks loose, because, you know, like, I'm really sorry for the sensitive material, but it's got nothing to do with feeling suicidal. I don't have a suicidal feeling. It's a fucking escape plan. And I feel miserable about that sometimes. I'm exhausted, I'm totally overwhelmed, and if I'm homeless again, I'm sorry, but my life, you know, when they say every life matters, that's not, my life should matter before I die, not after, you know, not just after, or when I threaten to.
And that again is our job to keep you from getting homeless. And
the thing is that my trauma, as is in my medical certificates, which are on file with MSD, my trauma and my anxiety, well, it's not anxiety, it's trauma and stress, is centred on losing my home. And for Robin to not even tell me if I have a home.
She was in tears yesterday, so she will get out.
I was just freaking the
We
fuck
haven't even really spoke, but she was just...
Well,
I think you reached out to me though.
Yeah, because we'd seen each other
someone.
around, you know, because you're always sort of looking after the kids outside, and I've been getting a bit involved with the kids.
Yeah.
As I was saying, every time I have a knock on the door from the kids, I'm like, oh my God, it's the police. Because I really do have PTSD.
Look,
Yeah.
I'm going to be very clear.
Yeah.
And I acknowledge your health.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, I'm gonna, in all fairness, with Robin, because Robin's not here to speak on her behalf.
Well, she's got emails, so she can speak for her behalf.
Well,
on her behalf.
in all fairness, because I've come from a government background.
Same. Same. That's why
So,
I know how it works.
With her, in her situation, she's obligated, she's governed.
She's not, because the thing is that she isn't, because I have an agreement with WIMS.
But do you have a paper trail?
Do
you have paperwork stating from the what was her, Siobhan? Siobhan?
Firstly, verbal agreements count, and so if this were to become a dispute, and it's a very serious matter, then it would go to court and there'd be an investigation. But Robin initially denied that I had any dispensations, and I said I'm really concerned about that, because I wouldn't have come back into emergency housing because I cannot meet those obligations. And then Robin, she's not a dishonest person. She ate humble pie. She said, I've gone back to talk to Siobhan. Now Siobhan was the case manager who got me in, and you could talk to Siobhan and you can get Siobhan's version, because that's what Siobhan told me. And I don't think Siobhan's going to suddenly deny it. So Robin, I have in writing from Robin that she had gone back to talk to Siobhan, who, as I say, again, has moved into a different role. And I don't even know if she's in the same ricketing clinic, probably not. Ricketing centre. I don't even think so. But I do have her email address, you see. And she came back and she said, and these are among emails that I've sent you, she said, I talked to Siobhan and it's true, you were told that. So even though it didn't come from Siobhan, it's come from Robin's own mouth.
Yeah.
So Robin has acknowledged that legislatively I do not have obligations.
Okay, so she's acknowledged it. We're very clear about that.
Yeah.
So
that's a contract.
Yeah. So then from here, what I would suggest is part of our role is to maintain the client's accommodation.
Yeah.
We are the ones who navigate between the client and MSD. We're the middle people.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great, because I really feel like I need someone to... It's not that I think Robin doesn't... It's just that I found a lot of the emergency housing. So I've had 3 emergency housing navigators, and the one who got me back in here was not mine. She was just bringing me back in because I've made another suicide attempt because of what I was going through. And so she could see but when the MSD could see how serious my situation was, and that I really needed a freaking break me because I'm not well. And I refuse to live on the street. I'm not one of those people who can cope with it. I've met women at the Women's Day Centre at Community, the City Mission, and some of them are my size, smaller than me, but they're tough women, and I'm not. I'm very unwell. I'm not living on the freaking street. I've got these many medications to do. I have a kidney transplant. I'm under gastroenterology, I'm under nephrology, I'm not, I can't, and if I am going to live in the bloody wilderness, I need to be properly set up, and I need to, I understood from a previous, so that was Siobhan who moved me into this, but she said, I'm not going to be your case manager. Shaking you into this, and your case manager get in touch. And she was lovely, and she understood everything, and she said, there's no way that you can look for a house at the moment. Now, I understand at the moment means not permanently, but I also think that if you're going to pass the reasonable person test that the law uses, a reasonable person would not expect that some time would end all of a sudden 2 days before your accommodation was meant to run out. That is not a reasonable notice
Hang on, I
period.
need to, in saying that though, I actually need to, on Robin's behalf, because I touched base with you last week, mid last week,
Yeah,
to speak with you, I knew
yeah.
your extension was due to, your renewal was due to be extended, right? So I knew, I get all this information.
From tomorrow, beyond tomorrow.
Hang on, no, not from, I won't go that far just yet. So last week when I made the appointment with you,
Yeah,
I wanted to speak with you as soon as possible, but today was the only day I had available,
yeah,
both myself and my colleague.
yeah.
But I knew ahead that your renewal was due,
Okay.
so as
Yes.
long as I met with you before your renewal was due,
Yeah,
I then would go back to the office and
Yeah.
then extend it.
sure. But that's knowledge in your head. Knowledge in your head is not notice to me.
No, I can
Well,
understand that.
MSD has an obligation to give a notice period, and I understood it was a week. It may not be a
But
week,
you
but
were-
that's what I was previously told.
But the thing is, you're right in last week and from today,
Yeah.
you're not being kicked out because I'm here to extend your.
Okay, but just this morning, Robin said.
Yes, I saw that
Yeah.
message.
So what I'm trying to say is I'm not claiming that you're not here to solve my problems and help me, and I'm not saying that you're not aware of certain things. I'm saying from a contractual basis, and we have to, a lot of legislation, including WIN's legislation, is based on contracts, and contracts do not exist when one of the parties to the contract is totally unaware of what it is. So your being aware of it has got nothing to do with the contract that I have with MSD because no one's fucking told me anything. And so the only notice that I got that no one gave me any notice, they just said I was getting a housing navigator. It's not the same as giving notice. And it's not one of those things where, okay, let's come together and be forgiving. I've got fucking PTSD and I'm suicidal. And WINS has let me down and they have broken the law in doing it. And there's a reason the laws are there because they are dealing with really vulnerable people, the most vulnerable people in
So
society.
what can happen now, because this is all clear now to everybody,
That's right.
now it's good that they're here because now they know your situation and how
Yeah,
you feel towards WINS and they can go back and talk to Robin
I
and let her know that she
I
needs to
know
keep
that,
you in
but
the loop.
I do know, I get that, I totally get that, Terry. But the damage that's done to a traumatised person's psyche when, like, the terrorism that goes on, terrorism, and I'm not saying that the terrorism is deliberate, but the terrorism that has taken place, which is very, very common for traumatised people, is the triggering of their traumatic event. And mine has been repeatedly chased out of homes that I'm entitled to be in. Now, Robin knows this, and I'm not talking about blaming Robin as a person. I'm talking about MSD. I'm talking about MSD, so I don't need to be personal, but I'm talking about waiting till the fact that, look, if you have a very dear loved one, like a child or a parent or a best friend or so forth, who is being held hostage by someone who may or may not tell her, knowing at the last minute that she's going to survive does not take away the trauma of the week ahead of that when you don't know if she's going to live or die. That trauma is not removed, that trauma stays with me for fucking ever. And the trauma that I'm constantly put through because insecure housing by itself is a source of trauma. And the suicide levels for people in insecure housing are in cooey of the suicide levels of homeless people. Because in my mind, if I don't know I've got a home, that's the same thing as thinking that I don't. So the damage has been done. The fact that it looks like I'm going to get a reprieve cannot undo the trauma that this has further inflicted on me. And that's something that I can claim damages from in court because that is just psychological torture. It is psychological torture. They have my medical records. They know where my trauma is coming from. They know that I have nowhere else to go. They know I don't even have a car to sleep in. It's not acceptable.
And that's, again, we know what one's is like.
But knowing, well, we know what Hitler's like. It doesn't make up for what he did okay.
No, let me finish. The reason why we are here is to take, as you said, is to take that stress from you of having to find a place. We will keep going, and we'll keep you in advance and paying here, that you don't have to get in touch with us. You don't have to talk to us.
Okay, so it will really will be passive.
We do that.
Yeah. Because
we do that on your behalf.
Because
we are hired on your behalf
thank
to
you.
do
That's
that
really
for
that's
you.
really good.
There is something I do want to say on your lines. Exactly what Sean just said, that's what we can support you with.
Yeah.
But there is a part in the obligation that you have to go into the office
Yeah.
to face with your case manager. You have to. It's part. It's just to see how you're going and things like that. It's got nothing to do with.
Okay, I'm just going to stop you for a moment. I have never refused to go in to see a case manager when there's been an appointment made. I rang up the call centre last week to ask about something completely different, and I was told that I was having a phone appointment with Robin this morning. And I said, no one's told me that. And it's not that I am averse to keeping in touch with Robin. I am keen to do all of my obligations that I can. It's that I can't have a meeting with someone when that person has not has not told me I have a meeting. I wasn't informed, oh, by the way, we need to inform you of the meeting. It was just mentioned to me as if I already knew. And I said, no one's informed me. And they said, oh, you should have got a text message or a letter. I said, I've got neither of those. Now I have had
Sometimes that happens too.
That happens to me too.
Now that's a Lynn's problem, not a Caitlin problem.
It is.
And yeah, okay. So I'm not taking responsibility for that. So I have not let down my side. Now the reason that the phone call and Robin, I emailed Robin that day, which was last week, saying, is this, because I think you got in touch with me on Tuesday or something like that, and then I said about being Tuesday, and I emailed Robin and I said, are we supposed to be having an appointment on Tuesday, or did the call centre person get mixed up and mixed up with Marissa's visit? Like, am I talking to you in the morning on Tuesday or not? And Robin never got back to me. And I'm sorry, Robin was dropping the ball every step of the way. It's not cool. And so it was never going to be an office visit. It was going to be a phone call. Now, if I have to go into the office, I will. But because I've got severe fatigue problems, every time I go somewhere new, I get lost. I get really badly lost. I actually was talking to the guy. I just thought I was just like I just had an extreme female brain where, we've evolved to, women have evolved to have really good, detailed, and peripheral eyesight, because those are the you need eyes in the back of your head to look after kids, right? Whereas men have really good spatial awareness. And I thought I was just like an extreme, female, but it turns out that I was talking to this guy and his wife has what I have, and it's actually a disability. I have literally no sense of direction. And so when I go to a new place in Christchurch, because I've been here since the middle of 2022, it will take me a fucking hour to find the place, and I often be in tears and really stressed out. And so unless there's a need for me to go into the office, I think Robin recognises that a phone call is as good as anything else. If I have to go into the office, I will, but no one has ever required me to, except spontaneously suddenly yesterday when Robin put on the iron glove and said we're all meeting at Linwood office, and it's like, I can't do that, man, like I'm falling apart physically.
Oh, well, now you know for future reference, and rightfully so. I would like to be informed well in advance, with anything, if I need to go and see a case manager in advance. So But yeah, part of the your obligation is to go into the office.
Yeah, but
regardless.
I no, it's not regardless, it's if I'm told. I'm not gonna go into the office on the off chance that there was an appointment for me that I wasn't told about.
True.
Sorry,
If
mate.
they say to
Oh, not
you,
your mate.
if they say to
Oh,
you that,
that's,
No, please, I'm not your mate. I'm Narissa, but I'm not mate.
that's
all.
not very cool. I'm sorry,
Speak
that's just a manner of speaking.
Anyway, carry on.
I really don't need any more hostility in my
what
life.
I'm saying is, by rights you should have, if you've got an appointment with Wins, you should either have an email, a text message or a letter explaining to you when that meeting is and what day.
Yeah, or we can go to a
If
class
you
together and develop
If
ESP.
you don't do that, if they don't do that, then they're falling on their side effect.
I can't meet obligations I'm not told of.
No,
That's
exactly.
a very good point too.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. They want you to go into the office for a face to face with them.
I don't need that
No,
explained to
no,
me. I will.
I know.
I've never been asked
But
to.
the thing is,
Apart from
you do need to know what day that's going to be.
I
and
bloody
what
well
time it's
do,
gonna be. Because you
and
just can't go in today and say, I want to have a meeting with Robin, because you won't get one.
or what am I supposed to do? Take my sleeping bag and sleep outside just on
So-
the and check every hour to see if I've got an appointment.
You have every right to have a notification of what day you have to go into the office.
Yeah, and the person on the call centre said you should have got a text or a letter,
Yeah.
and she wasn't saying, "Oh, I don't believe you.
No.
You did."
Okay.
She was just like, "Oh, you should
You
have."
should have.
And the thing is, I previously did
Yeah.
the last time I had an appointment. No, sorry, I just want to say that it's a figure of speech for me, and I know that mate can sound. I've kind of had a moment to just think. I know it's like when someone goes, like you see in American movies, where someone goes, "Hey, buddy, hey, sport," and it's kind of like a. You know, I don't mean it like that. I call people mate all the time. It's just like, yeah, I'm sorry. And
That's okay, thank you.
yeah, I know you're.
And I apologise for if I did come back snapping, but that's my way of putting my borders out.
I know.
Just like how you put your borders out. And I totally.
Certainly. What I want to say, what I want to say about that is that you know how speech. Because I actually have a linguistics degree, and because I've got autism, I didn't know at the time, but it taught me a lot about human behaviour and about how not to take things literally. Because I used to take things really literally. It's like, it has a different meaning, and that's why people. Yeah, so I've always been told to take things literally. But the other thing about speech is that it's if we had to consciously choose every word that we spoke in spontaneous conversation, it would be like, those, paraplegic people on bed who have to move letters on the board with their eyeballs moving, and so I can't, our speech is just, it's like, well, I could lose weight, but it's going to take me 4 months, so I could get mate out of my general vernacular, but it would take a lot of work and it's probably not going to happen in this. So if I call you mate again, please, I call everyone mate, and it's really weird, like I call tradies mate, and then I think, oh my god, they probably think that I'm just trying to get in with the tradies, but it's just like, it's just me, I guess it's just me.
And thank you, I will take that into consideration.
Yeah, please do, because it's really, really hard. Like if you try to change your speech patterns immediately, you just won't be able to, because it's all subconscious. Like we are not composing our speech and then speaking it. We are just speaking it live, like it's a live stream. So I mean, no disrespect.
Can we just get down to business now?
So
Yeah, but I just don't want to get offside my
Yeah, no,
navigator.
you made a fair point. Yeah, no, she
Yeah.
got you.
what we're saying, what I said was that yes, you have every right to have an email or a text message or a letter from.
And when I proactively seek confirmation from the person with whom I've heard secondhand, I have an appointment, and she doesn't reply to me, well, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but my
Yeah.
duties are discharged.
Yeah, and when we continue being your housing navigator, we also have to see you face to face one day a week.
Yep, that's
And
fine.
we would let you know what day that's going to be.
Yeah.
And it'll be a set time,
Yeah.
every day, that day at that time.
And that really works for me because, and I don't want to make, I'm not on the, neurodivergences call group. I'm way too old for that. But I am in the neurodivergence is real group. And a lot of what people see in me as being rigid or controlling is not. It's just that I can't function not knowing what's happening ahead of time. I need structure. So having that time set a week is really good for me because it means I can navigate my own week by and
See,
prepare.
there's things that I'm okay with me talking about, like I've been through trauma, I've been through PTSD,
Yeah,
I've still got it, and I'll always have it, and I'll always have that trauma,
yeah,
and I'll always have anxiety, and I'll always have stress, and I'll always have everything that
yeah,
I've got diagnosed,
yeah.
and that's why I'm in this industry now.
And I've heard that before from people because they have developed that empathy and they really want to help people who have been misunderstood.
So and that is part of the reason why I run Good Morning today,
Yeah,
because I've seen threats like that written down before.
yeah,
And
the context.
I just
is
had
bigger.
to make,
Yeah,
I had to cover by saying, okay, this is what I've got to do.
yeah,
With us as housing navigators, we go, as we said, we go between you and MSD, so you don't have to worry about MSD.
yeah,
Only go in if they send you like
Yeah.
text message or something like that.
yeah.
We will
So this is
We
very,
will
this
come-
is very clear to me.
we will
yes.
come and see you on one day at the same time,
Yeah.
same day every week. It'll just be a pop and say,
Yeah.
how are things going? Is everything all right?
Yeah,
And
that
then
sounds lovely to me.
we will take care of your extension,
Yeah,
and also if you do need anything, any extra support, not quite the mental health side of things, but like if you need budgeting or if you need
yeah.
anything
so
like that,
just
we can do that as well.
Yeah.
But that will be on your
yeah.
choice, not ours.
Yeah, so mental health, I just want the topic of mental health to just turn into a ball of flames and
Everybody who suffers from mental health wants that to happen.
well,
I want it to happen, but it's not going to happen.
I'd just like to finish what I'm saying. So mental health has a dual meaning, and unfortunately the dual meaning, I mean, it comes from a semantics difference, but unfortunately it gets funneled to the same point. Now, as you know, I've been sectioned to Hamilton. I was initially incorrectly diagnosed with, I didn't even receive a diagnosis, but they were wondering about a mood disorder such as a subtype of bipolar disorder. And they thought that they would test that out by forcibly, totally illegally, this is criminal, it's just criminal assault, by testing out antipsychotics against my will. And the effect of the antipsychotics was the opposite, and I would just go mad, and then they blamed me. I was told I had to take responsibility for my behaviour, even though they had pinned me down, injected me with something that they knew made me help out. And I was told I had to take responsibility for my behaviour. And I'm like, you gave me this to change my fucking mental state, and it has. I'm sorry, where is my responsibility in this process? It was disgusting. And then I was put into high care with a woman who was threatening to fucking assault me. And all the healthcare assistant did was tell me to stay in your room. So it was a very, very abusive place to be. But I want to say that eventually I got put under the care of a very experienced psychiatrist who was in retirement. He was dragged back as a locum for a little bit because we know everyone's under so much pressure. And he was wonderful, and he was a trauma expert. And Paul on the phone yesterday said, yeah, treat PTSD and, he said trauma and bipolar disorder have the same symptoms. And I said, no, they don't. They have very similar signs, but they have very different symptoms. And the treatment for them is radically different. And if you treat trauma with bipolar treatment, especially against someone's will, you are really seriously assaulting them mentally. That's an assault that those people, if they were, because I know I've read lots of people, lots of doctors who have gone to prison for this kind of thing. It is just, they were treating me like a lab rabbit, and this guy was just flexing his fucking muscles because he could. Anyway, so luckily that had been stopped. He took a few looks at his notes. He could tell immediately this was not a mood disorder. Mood disorders are very horrible things because you've got no control over them. They come like the weather, whereas trauma is always responsive to something external. And so those have completely different etiologies. And the etiology for me was that I was, and I still am, being abused in the community. And so even though I was diagnosed with PTSD, on my supported living form signed off by his house officer and approved by him, it's stress because it's active and it is trauma, and I have other diagnoses that aren't on the WIMS form, but I actually think, I've asked my GP actually, I think I need to have that disability form updated because I don't think it's getting across to the individuals that I'm dealing with there, and I think that all of the things that are my current conditions need to be put on there, because it's not just PTSD. PTSD indicates, yes, I do have PTSD, but I also have active acute trauma, and I love that because the things are still happening over and over and over again. But I don't want to ramble, but what I wanted to say is that I am really familiar with the Mental Health Act because, I had a barrister to try to get me out, and I had the whole bloody act, that I was pouring through, and I had to tell the doctors a thing or two about privacy. You must not consult with whānau unless you've consulted with the patient first about whether or not that's appropriate to do. But they only have the section that misses that bit out saying they must consult whānau. So they were consulting whānau who had been abusing me. Who told me that, who got me into hypnosis, who telling me that I was paranoid, whereas I was being abused.
You have to have the client's permission before you do anything near them.
Yes, and, they don't have to have permission, but they have to consult with them and make an objective determination about whether whānau is appropriate. Now, objective doesn't mean in my opinion, it means an objective justification. And they did not have one. And one of my honestly snake cousins, I used to really rely on him. My snake cousin told them that I was abusing benzos and sleeping pills. And guess who came down from Puhoi to be with me and help me, but him, with sleeping pills for me, Zopicone. I am prescribed Zopicone anyway, so it was like, okay, that's okay, and I'm familiar with it. But I didn't ask for it. And then he also bought me this fucking medicinal kind of marijuana tincture that he was pushing me real heavily to take, telling me it'll show me out. And I kept saying no, and he kept saying, you're so close-minded, just try it. And I'm like, he went and told Hamilton that I was a drug addict, and he's the one fucking pushing the drugs on me. Like, these are not people who are reliable people to put anything on my fucking record. Anyway, you look like you need to go.
I need to go to work, that's what it is.
Oh, please do, and I'll turn on some music, so...
But we do need to go back to the office, but I just
Yeah,
need to go to work.
go to the bathroom, and I'll just...
I don't know how
Let's
much
just
my list is.
let's sing a song. Happy birthday to you. I'll turn the shower on, right? Yeah, okay, I think we're making assumptions about what we can do there. Sorry.
So as I was saying, we are the go-between between you and them.
Yeah.
So you don't have to keep it.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds really good to me. And there's just one thing that I wanted to say is, like, I had such a brilliant conversation with Paul. So but unfortunately he's obviously quite senior, so he got someone from crisis resolution. I still don't understand the whole network. He got someone from crisis resolution to call me, and all she offered me was a suicide risk assessment. And so everything that he said to me got totally lost in translation, because he was talking about, he was basically promising me in this, and he said that someone from crisis resolution would follow up. He was pretty much promising me that he would look into a second, to get into Te Marama, because that's in my crisis plan.
Yeah.
Hillmorton had previously denied that the crisis plan was still legal because the doctor had left. That is not what I understand a crisis plan. It should be legally binding. And so that's actually a really good source.
Yeah, because I had a really good
explore.
talk with him yesterday as well when I was on the phone, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
And we had I know nothing about your case, and I don't need to know anything about your case.
But somebody does,
But
because
somebody
I
does.
can't be put in danger.
No.
That's why it's good if you just get that guy Paul, the good one that's talking
It's
to
just
you.
that I have no contact. I've only got the 0800 number, and as I've said, the 0800 number is just full of
Well, he
bounce.
does.
Exactly, this is what I'm saying. So I'm saying...
Because I work, as I said, I also work for Stepping Stone, and I am a plastic direct dial to
Would you be able,
Yes.
can I just interject for a sec?
Yes, please.
Would you be able to grab a form from a disability form, that he could fill out on your behalf?
I'll have to look into what I can do.
That's a really good idea, but I'm seeing my GP on Friday, and I think I'll see if, because Paul doesn't know me, and when I said, Paul, do you think you could talk to MSD and explain to them what my situation is, because they don't seem to understand what no work capacity and falling apart and can't take any more means. And he said it wouldn't be me, it would be a doctor. And the thing is, I'm so glad that you have a direct conduit to him, because I am never going to find him again, because they're not going to let me through. And if you could follow that up and just say, look, crisis resolution is not going to broker this, if you were happy to broker that exploration, because he said you would be in charge, you were driving this, you would go back into basically under patient care, but not under the Mental Health Act.
Yeah.
And you would be driving this, and people would be, will work towards what you need. Because when I'm in social housing, emergency accommodation, I'm delighted to be here, and this is such a lovely place, but the managers never, I've had two managers, and they, thanks, Marissa, the manager here, he's cool and all, but he's really blunt, and I'm blunt as an SE too, but he's really blunt about how my communication is wrong, how I'm demanding, and then I'm like, oh God, I'm being demanding, I didn't realise that, that's just how I am, so then I soften my request, and he's like, don't beat around the bush, to say what you mean. It's like I can't fucking win, and I don't have a pattern that I can follow. He hasn't given me a pattern that I can follow to use with him. And so what happens when I've got a manager who doesn't understand autism is that I just end up being, and it's not his fault because he doesn't understand and he doesn't speak English, so I can't explain what autism is to him. And I don't think he's willing to look it up in his own dialect. It's like, yesterday I was so upset, and you was saying this, you're like the last one who's up there, and you just think that your plans are my plans, and I'm like, oh my God, that's not at all what I think, but this is constantly how ASPs are interpreted, and as Dr. Jameson, I know you've got to go, but as Dr. Jameson said, who was on his release for mental health and getting community support, said, your disability isn't that you seem so high functioning that no one sees how low functioning that you are. And I was in such a state yesterday, and then you started laying into me about my communication style and how demanding I was, and I was just like, oh my God, I hear this all my life, you have to stop doing this to me, I can't cope, because it is my life, and I need to be around people who understand it and don't criticise me every second. I try so hard to fit in.
This is what I'm going to do. While I was in the toilet, I
always do toilet things as well.
I like to put on the table for you before we leave here, and so everyone is very clear.
Yeah.
Is that I'm going to go back and talk to Robin and inform her of not so much of our extended discussion, what I mean by extended, the mental health side, But in regards to the emergency housing side, I've got a better picture now in regards to who you are as a person, okay? I can see why Siobhan did what she did, because cognitively, you can't function. Yeah? So, what I'm going to propose to Robin is that I'll be your emergency. Well, actually, because Sean's he's going to be on your case on here as well. So he's going to support you as well, not just myself, but I'll be the main key person.
Yeah.
But if you need to get hold of Sean for anything to do with medical things, and if Sean doesn't mind,
I'm the health and wellbeing person. She's the
Health
Get in here.
person. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
am that
And,
person.
I'm the one.
and honestly, Narissa, I've always been the get in there person, and what people do is they make the mistake of thinking because I'm disabled cognitively that I just don't know how to organise myself. I'm organised from
yeah.
fucking numb, but and I keep saying to people, it's like telling, it's like telling Cody Bryant, I don't even know if he's still alive, is he alive? But someone died in a car crash. Anyway, it's like telling, okay, well actually
Anyway.
that makes the analogy even better.
I'm a Beatles person too. Yeah, the one playing.
It actually makes the analogy even better. It's like telling Kobe Bryant how to play basketball when he's dead. It's not that he doesn't. It's not that he doesn't know how to play ball. It's that he literally cannot because he's been buried.
He's buried. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm
Yeah.
going to let her inform her. I'm going to extend it. I will tell her that I will extend it.
Thank you.
She will then process it. I will also inform her that due to the overwhelming task that you've got for you that's ahead of you,
Yeah.
that's the best way I can put it.
It's on me. It's bearing down
I
on me
can
like
see
a
it.
dog. Yeah.
I can see it. More so, I can hear it. I can hear it in here and in here too. But if my colleague and I can take some of that pressure off you by not meeting those obligations, now it makes sense for me.
Yeah, and I'm really happy to do everything in my power.
Yeah.
It's not an attitude problem, it's a disability. And I will do everything that I can do. And I did commit to Siobhan and then I recommitted to Robin. Because of course, like, I'm a really cooperative person and I know this is a privilege to be here, but it's a life-saving privilege. That of course I'll do everything and I'm not going to turn down something that I just don't like. I was referred to a Comcare property, but it turned out to be a massive conflict of interest for something to do with the criminal court. So it was a shithole as well. But it was like, okay, well, it's a shithole, it's my new home. I'm right here, which is lovely. But I couldn't for legal reasons. So I'll take anything suitable that's available.
Fantastic.
And Robin was talking about a transitional housing through somebody else.
Emerge? Was it
It could have been through Emerge. She said it's another motel. And I said, look, I'm happy for that. That every move, and you know now how many moves I've made, every move kicks my fucking ass. And it means that because I probably have chronic fatigue syndrome, although it gets quite mixed up with the stress, the exhaustion from stress, it means that every move takes masses and masses of energy that I may not ever get back. Like my baseline can go down.
Well, right now, we'll just focus on the here
Yeah.
and moving forward,
Yeah.
because, and we'll only do baby steps, okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to be jumping into a big boat, well, I will say a big waka,
Yeah.
for you to get over to the next line. I think from here, we just need to extend this. I need to extend this.
Yeah.
I will touch base with you. What do you prefer? Email, text, phone?
Phone's bad because of my memory.
Okay, so paper trail?
Paper trail is really good.
So either way, text or email.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then because I'm at the moment I'm in the process of putting together a timeline of everything so I can quickly refer to events because I get so muddled.
So that's what I'm going to do. I will touch base with
Text.
texts are really good. Emails, or a text to say I've sent you an email.
Yeah. It's okay.
Isn't your phone, I mean,
I'm always checking email and phone, so
Oh,
whatever suits
okay.
you.
Yeah, I'm okay, as long as, because I know that I identified quite quickly that you have a paper trail, you like paper trail.
I really do.
So,
yeah, because
yeah, I noticed
my memory is just
And that's
what
okay.
memory.
It's good for me too,
That's
because
very
I have a
nice.
lot of information, but anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. I will go back to her, speak to Robin about today's meeting. I will extend it, and then talk to her about the emerge. I'm sure that's what she was talking about, the transitional housing.
Yeah,
If it is, I then touch base with you
yeah.
through text or email.
Okay.
And then I'll probably will come and visit you again. No, not probably. I will come and visit you.
Yeah,
What's today? Tuesday. Next week.
yeah.
What day would suit you next week? And what time? And then I can book it in.
Yeah,
and
thank
then
you.
it's us.
I don't generally have anything on,
But Tuesday, Wednesday is our.
Wednesday, Tuesday,
Oh,
Thursday, now.
sorry, I thought my computer was on, but it's not. I'm just gonna,
So our days that Sean and I will come to for us, what works both for us is Wednesday, Thursday.
yeah, okay. Do you want to pencil in what suits you? And when my now desktop computer finally
Okay, just
decides
confirm
to,
with me.
I'll get right back to you if there's a conflict. There
We'll do
shouldn't be,
Wednesday.
but when it comes to legal stuff, you don't have a fucking choice.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
have the
that's
rest of
okay.
it.
No, it's
Maybe I do. I
really
never rest
No.
myself.
Stop.
It's
Oh,
stupid.
So Wednesday next week, 1 o'clock.
Okay, that sounds
I don't know what day that is.
Wednesday.
Date. Sorry, date.
next week on Wednesday, one.
Next week, Wednesday, and I will email you. My computer's going to take forever, but I'll email
Write
you.
it down.
That's
Write
okay.
it down for now so you don't forget.
Thanks, Nate.
Oh, good.
It is a term of endearment. It's not a.
No, I think
If I had a problem.
If I thought someone was like mate,
When I have a trouble with someone, I call them shit.
okay.
Because that's that American thing.
Yeah.
Well, us Māoris, it's either bro.
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 I do say bro. I do not. I more say bro to the kids.
Yeah, and that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, Wednesday 1 p.m. next week. I'll come here. If it clashes with whatever you've got, please
Yeah.
let me know, and then I'll reschedule.
All good.
I will email you before you probably can get back to next week. Not that you'll see it, but I will do that.
But if you don't hear from me,
Is this
between
one of
now-
our chairs, did you say?
That's the one I bloody wrestled off you downstairs. He's like, you don't have room in for a third chair, and I'm like, dude,
This ain't my chair.
He said,
Hey, this ain't from our buddy.
this was in the
Oh.
Anyway, we can have the conversation later.
I'll let you know. I'll let you
It's
know
your
what the
text,
outcome
I
is.
got your chair and I'm like, hey, she looked at us.
I'll let you know the outcome this afternoon. If I don't let you know this afternoon,
Yeah.
be tomorrow morning when I get into the office, because it all depends if Robin picks up my message.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
So just giving you a heads up.
You've got to go home.
I think it's all about
But
the
you will be
strategy.
here.
You will be here.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that.
Thank
That's
you.
what I can.
Because the terror, like, it's the terror, I don't know, you can probably imagine the terror.
You can do it.
Yeah, it's only for cool,
Solid
strong
block of wood, that
people.
one, isn't it?
My house.
Oh, you're funny and secure.
Thanks for that, Caitlin. So I'll touch base. I'll hear from you.
Yeah, I'll confirm that date with you as soon as my computer wakes up.
Fantastic. All right.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Thank you for understanding.
Oh, I'm learning too.
Yeah.
I'm learning too. So you've got to be with me.
I know. I'm just fresh from being told off for my communication by the managers today, and it was just a bit raw, but it's not my fault.
I don't take things to heart, but some people got to get me wound up for me to.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's okay.
Thank you.
All right. You look after yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you. Bye.
See you.
yes, I hope that managed to capture the sound. That was my little sound recording booth. If it doesn't work, I'll try something else, but at least it's something. And I think if any forensics needed to be done, someone can isolate the voices anyway. So I'll upload this to YouTube now, but I'm not going to make it public, or I'm going to make it private until someone comes back with some fucking bullshit, and I expect that's going to be MSD or Nga Maata Waka is going to come back to me with the truth, and then I'm going to clobber MSD over the head with it. Two parties can be in the wrong at the same time. They can be equally wrong. Generally, it's one party's wrong more than the other. I think Narissa was really badly negligent and not responding to me whatsoever, even if she had been pulled off the case by MSD or by her manager or whatever. There's no excuse to not tell me when I was begging and pleading. And in fact, I'm just going to see if I can find that recording, because it was pretty pitiful. And I don't know how someone can ignore that and not think I have a responsibility to respond to that, because clearly no one else has and someone has to. Because it's not in the service level agreement. I mean, it's guaranteed not to be in a service level agreement, and it's bound to not be legal. But I don't want to frighten the horses just yet. But if anything I get back is conflicting, then yeah, I'm gonna release it, and it's made me realise that I think that the person, because I've been asking Narissa, and then I asked the privacy officer at that navigation service, Nga Maata Waka, who's back tomorrow, and the manager says that she'll get her to prioritise my request. I've really asked, like, who is it that Narissa came, because when they came back and visited me on the following Thursday, after the shit hit the fan, because that wasn't sorted out like I was told, and I think it's Robin. But I think also Narissa should also contact me and tell me that she's done it. Like, I think everyone needs to communicate. You can't just leave the most vulnerable person, the one who everything is done about, out of the loop, and have everyone denying culpability. But I suspect that it's Robin, and I suspect that Robin is a fucking filthy, dirty liar. But the closing of the ranks at MSD and particularly WINS is really concerning. Anyway, I'll just upload this to I'll make a playlist, and I'll upload a few other bits and pieces, including reading or record, showing, like, scrolling emails and stuff that I've sent pleading for information, and when the right time is for that, I'll make them public and or share them to the relevant parties. I don't think it's necessarily in my interest to make a complaint, and there's only so many government agencies that I can fight before I die. And at the moment, I think it's got to be police. They're the major problem. They're victimising everybody. They're making everybody need these services that are falling through. but it's good to know that it was a merge, because I'm familiar with I know what a merge is. I'd never heard of Nga Maata Waka before, but I had heard of a merge, and they've come up in conversations before with pathways and my GP and stuff, so I might actually email Emerge and just see if it's them, because if I don't have to die, I would rather not die, and if I have somewhere to go to, then I don't see that I have to die. I mean, this is life and death. This is life and death. This is what MSD is doing. They are playing with my life and they know it. Okay.